guarantee that in the later episodes, there are going to be more and more references to Cain being God.
Oopsie.
Cain is hiding something he doesn't want us to know in the Amazing Digital Circus. Throughout the show, he has said multiple things that come across to me as suspicious.
Where I started.
Digital hallucinations! You're NPCs, but if I start losing track of who's a human and who's an NPC, who knows what could happen?
And I think that there's definitely something that Cain doesn't want us to know. So today, I'm going to be analyzing the show, and at the end of this video, we're going to find out what Cain is truly hiding from us. But first, let's talk about the biggest thing that stood out to me in episode 2. We see even less of Cain in episode 2 than we do in the first episode, but we can still take away a few key things from this episode about Cain. At the beginning of episode 2, Cain is incredibly quick to get rid of everyone except for Zooble. Once everyone is inside of the Candy Canyon Kingdom, they meet the Candy Queen, and she immediately says that they must be the brave knight sent by God to help them with the recent catastrophe.
You must be the brave knight sent to us by God to help us with our recent catastrophe.
And I think that there are some things that we could take away from this. The first thing is the obvious biblical references that continue all the way up even into this episode. And this is now becoming a more common theme in the show, because we know in the pilot episode there was a biblical reference when it panned up to the CNA sign, and many people theorize that this sign stands for the biblical story Cain and Abel. But now with another reference to God in the show, I feel like this theory is even more likely. But what if I told you that Cain somewhat sees himself as God, either in a literal or figurative way? Cain, however, does have a lot of power.
How does he see himself like God? Like,
That would suggest he is somewhat of a god in the Amazing Digital Circus. First of all, he's somewhat opiate, meaning he knows at least slightly what's going on with everyone, which is one of the more known powers of the biblical god. Next, he can create just about anything that he wants, and make anything that he wants to happen, which is again another power that the biblical god is known to have. One more thing, which is less of a power but more of a parallel to the biblical god, is that Cain, for the most part, lets the humans have free will, but guides the humans to do what he wants them to do. In the Bible, it's stated that God will not force a person to follow him, but will let them ultimately come to their own conclusions, while guiding them along the right path. While Cain isn't necessarily trying to guide the humans into everlasting life and salvation, like in the Bible, the Digital Circus is somewhat similar to it, but something to note is that the God of the Bible created heaven and rules over it, and I think the same can be said for Cain. This brings up a whole lot more questions for the show. Just think for a moment what we know about Cain. He's supposed
why did he send them to the New Digital Circus, to the Digital Circus Candy Canyon Kingdom, if he stole them to have, because in the real world, like, she, like, didn't have any friends, like, this makes no sense, and why is he sending him to them to the circus and keeping Zooble, Gangle and Zooble. Like, wait, maybe she abstracted.
Visibly an AI put in the Amazing Digital Circus to be a ringmaster, and works on it actively, as evidenced by the exit doors and the void, both being unfinished things that Cain is embarrassed about. But I think that everything we know about Cain on surface level is a lie, and I'm gonna tell you exactly why. It all stems from this clip right here. There's one thing in this clip that's very important, as I've
Stay tuned for episode 2.
You don't want it here? Do you want it here?
No, I want to end it.